with us. Let me just flip the camera around before it gets out of sight, but this is the ferry here to Gabriola Island, and it is just leaving the dock here in the harbor of Nanaimo. Gabriola Island is about 10 kilometers away. Every 25 minutes, it's about a 25-minute ride on the ferry over to the island. It is beginning to rain just a little bit, so you can cross your fingers with me that rain will dissipate and disappear over the next few minutes. Of course, BC Ferries services not only, thank you, John, not only the mainland to Vancouver Island, but also the little islands in the center of the Strait of Georgia, which is the body of water between Vancouver and Vancouver Island here out in the Pacific Ocean. And this particular one, as I said, heads over each day about 16 times a day over to Gabriola Island, known as the Island of the Arts. Galleries and studios. It boasts magnificent sandstone formations. In fact, on the one side of the island is some beautiful sandstone cliffs. Now, I believe if I pinch and zoom, can I zoom in? Yeah. So just, if I use my finger, just over there, you can kind of see a little bit of the sandstone cliffs just on the edge. And that is where I've gone by, and all sorts of birds' nests in there, which are wonderful. $20 is the cost, about a 25-minute ferry ride over. 65 vehicles, and of course pedestrians as well, can go on that ferry as it goes back and forth from the docks here in Nanaimo. Hello again. Well, welcome to everybody who's just joining me from over on Hago, where I just finished a tour of the downtown area, the old quarter of the city, down through the Arts District and here to the harbor. And now we've switched over to YouTube Live, and I want to continue this tour of the area. For those of you just joining me for the first time, my name is Dan King. I live here on Vancouver Island off the west coast of Canada. And today we're going to be doing a walk along the walk path, and seawall here in Nanaimo's at the waterfront. We're going to stop at 7 different spots. I was going to say 8 different spots, but the first one was Gabriola Island Ferry, which you've just seen departing from here. And so get comfortable and enjoy this walkabout through the harbor front here in Nanaimo. Maryland, yes, it appears to be that way. I wasn't aware actually that monetization and tipping was able to happen on this, so I'm really excited that our friend left that tip with me here. So good to be able to know that does functionally work and people can do that. So if you'd like to try your chops out and try tipping, feel free to do that as well. Well, this is a 4.5 kilometer walkway that shows off many of Nanaimo's harborside attractions. It was built in 1987, or completed in 1987. And the walkway has become probably one of the best used recreational facilities here in the city. Of course, this is called Vancouver Island's harbor city for a good reason, the central harbor area. A lot of history, especially around the coal industry. Looking out across to Newcastle, Provincial Park Island, right in front of us there, and then to the right to Protection Island. And then again, we mentioned Gabriola and some of the others off in the distance, further to the right where the ferry is heading. Really was known as the hub city prior to 1986, when we had Expo 86 in Vancouver, the World's Fair that was here. They kind of rebranded a little bit. Tip, use the 3 dots. Thanks for the tip on the tip, John. Appreciate that. And in 1986, kind of rebranded itself for the World's Fair, and it came out as the harbor city rather than the hub city. Hub city was something that had to be explained. The idea that the harbor area here was the central part of the downtown core, and then the streets shot out like spokes from a wheel, and thus the name hub. And so it was just a little bit easier to. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Shot out like a little bit of hub of a wheel, so to speak. And so that's what gave it the name Hub City. kind of an explanation. So Harbor City makes much more sense since they rebranded it for Expo 86. And of course, we'll see the entire harbor as we journey today. We'll see a number of different types of vessels as we journey through the harbor area today. This is kind of the workhorse of it, isn't it? The tugboats that are docked here along the dock. This is actually the M.E. Mills Landing and Marina. It's a 600-foot pier, which has, yes, tugboats and work vessels, but also some very nice yachts here that are moored as well. It's off, we've just been on this area called Cameron Island. Not really an island because it is connected to the land proper of Nanaimo, but we call it Cameron Island. And it provides moorage for short and long-term users. It was originally kind of designed to attract kind of pocket cruise ships and other vessels that were too large to use the other facilities in the harbor area, but has adapted itself to whatever needs the particular boats have to come in. The Star Wars II fishing boat. So you've got the workhorse boats I mentioned, you've got the yachts I mentioned, and then you've got the commercial fishing boats, are another type of vessel that we'll see today as we journey through our bit of a trip along the harbor area. Now this particular yacht has been moored here for months on months. So I have no idea, unfortunately, who owns it. However, it would be a lot of fun to get on and have a little bit of a sail around. But it has literally been here for, I'm gonna say 5 months probably, and quite a beautiful vessel. One of the disadvantages about YouTube over, for example, Hago, the former platform I've been doing on, it's a little bit more of a challenge for me to see the chat, because the chat pops up and then it disappears. And so if I'm not looking right there at the screen, I might miss your comment. So if you do ask a question of me, thank you for that. And make sure that you re-ask it if I don't answer it, because it is possible that I don't see it, because like I say, they do pop up for about 5 to 8 seconds and then they disappear, which is a little bit more of a challenge as we go along. Beautiful day today. It is overcast. It's been pouring rain for the last number of days here on, whoops, harder to hit the button for flip around here. It has been raining for the last few days here on the island in the central east coast, and it's made it quite wet. But today that water has pulled back, that rain from the water from the skies, the rain has pulled back to give a nice, cool, crisp day. It's about 8 degrees Celsius today. As I say, overcast. It started to rain for a moment as the tour began, but then it ceased, which was a nice treat for me anyway. You guys are nice, comfy, and warm wherever you are, I'm sure, I hope. And thank you. The audio connection, this is one of the reasons I picked this spot, is because there is good coverage, and I'm glad you like the audio as well. It's important to have that sound. Of course, we've got another one of the tugboats, or kind of a tug houseboat here. But then across the way, a lot of people, when I chat to them about this, one of the curiosities of people who don't live near the water is, how do these boats fuel? And if you look out across the water, you'll see that red barge, and that's actually a gas station. And so you would, like you would with your car, pull up to the gas station, except this is with your boat or vessel, and in the same way you'd pull up, you'd hop out, you'd pay for your gas, you'd fuel up, and then off you are again. I just jinxed it. No, I didn't. Oh, this is Michelle. Oh, wonderful. Your first post-Hago YouTube tour. Well, welcome. Welcome. Now you're going to see a little bit of a boat come by here, and this vessel's got 4 people on it, I think. They're likely coming in from Protection Island, which is just, again, one of the islands in the bay here across the water. We'll talk about it a little bit later in the tour. But this little vessel coming by probably is people who live there. Now, what they'll do is on a daily basis, they'll come from the islands out in the bay in here to the harbor, and they'll moor themselves up, and they'll go and do their daily tasks, whether it's errands of getting groceries, whether it's going to appointments they might have and such. And so there's a lot of traffic into the harbor from those islands. and which makes it a very popular place to be. Can you imagine not having a car but having a boat and having to come in from wherever you are? Although the trees along this walkway path here, and McGregor Park is where we are not in bloom yet. They will be in a couple of days or maybe another week, depending what the temperatures are. I can see buds on them. There are some beautiful trees here nonetheless, and you can imagine how pretty this is going to be when all these trees are in full bloom. Like I say, little buds at the moment, but give it a few more days, a little bit of warmth, and they will be off, and the beauty of spring will be fully entrenched here in Nanaimo on the east coast of Vancouver Island. So we've seen the workhorse boats, we've seen the yachts and the recreational vehicles, we've seen the fishing boats. There's a few other ones that we'll see as well here. There's some sailboats and some smaller recreational craft in the harbor here as well. But this is McGregor Park. It looks across the downtown of Nanaimo, and specifically across the Arts District. And if you were on my last tour on Hago right before this one, you have seen the back side of this building. This is the Port Theatre, and the Port Theatre is a venue for performing arts. It was officially opened back in September of 1998. Houses an 800-seat theater, several galleries. And so that's the front side of that building we saw from the back. Whoops, a little bit earlier. So I guess I can pinch the screen here to zoom in, which is kind of nice to know. I learned that from my good friend Patrick Toomey, who was doing a YouTube live the other day. Someone gave him that advice, which was great. Okay, Kaylin, welcome. Yeah, for those of you who are joining me on your first ever YouTube live tour, I'm glad you're here. I'm really glad you're here. This area, this little area, just this little area right here, for some reason reminds me of what it might be like in a Central Park in New York. And I think it's something about the way the rocks are here with the trees. In the summer when it's full bloom, it's even more so, but there's something New York Central Park-esque about this spot right here. I don't know, it's just a little tiny spot. And nothing much, but for some reason, it's just, maybe it's the rock formations or something. It just reminds me of New York's Central Park. And of course, Cameron Island is the, quote, island that we're on right now. We'll cross the street here, some of these beautiful apartments and townhouses that people can see. And again, we've got some of the trees that are in full bloom here. Quite a beautiful little community here on Cameron Island. It's developed. One of the side jobs I do is editing from time to time real estate videos, and so I've edited videos for some of the apartment buildings in here, and it really is a very pretty place and a very beautiful place to be. Some of the daffodils of spring that are out in bloom for those who like seeing the flowers of spring. It felt like spring had sprung about a week ago here on Vancouver Island, and then we kind of went from spring back to another version of winter. But hopefully we'll get spring in its full push. You keep searching for the postcard button. Yeah, I understand that on the Chrome, if you get the Chrome browser, that there is an extension you can add into it that has the ability to take screenshots, and so it's helpful. This, of course, particular cherry blossom tree has got the sun that's been on it, and so it's very pretty in bloom. It's funny, some of them are barely in bloom and some of them are fully in bloom. Others not so much. Of course, there's varieties of the cherry blossom trees. This is more of a white blossom. There's some of the ones that are very pink. Those are the ones that seem to be a little bit more dormant yet. They must take a little bit more heat to have to come out, but spring coming over the waters here in the beautiful Cameron Island here on the harbor front in Nanaimo. Well, we're going to walk across the street now, again onto the proper harbor. So we've been looking over the harbor, we've been looking at the docks. We're going to walk now across, down, and actually onto the docks. And the first feature that we're going to see is the Dinghy Dock Ferry waiting rooms. The Dinghy Dock Ferry is a ferry boat that travels right now, this time of year, just on the weekends, but in the summer months it would be daily, over to Protection Island. And this is another one, kind of part of our fourth kind of point of focus here on our tour today. And the Dinghy Dock Ferry it takes you over to the Dinghy Dock Pub, which is a restaurant on Protection Island. I love this restaurant on Protection Island because not only is it a great fish and chip place, it's a floating restaurant on Protection Island. And not only is it floating, but they've cut holes in the dock, the deck of the docks, and you can actually, while you're waiting for your food, put down fishing lines and try your best to catch little fish. So it's $12 return. And this is actually not the ferry boat proper. This is the waiting room. And so you go in, you grab a seat, and you wait for the ferry to come and pick you up. And the ferry itself is a little water taxi style boat that you can journey on. There it is for the Dinghy Dock Pub and Restaurant. And so if you're ever over in Nanaimo, this is one of those places that you have to go and explore and check out in the harbor. So these are all fingers or docks that go out and house just private vessels. A lot of beautiful sailboats, especially as we move into the summer, will be moored here. Personal vessels like the one in front of us here, and a lot of these little personal vessels like this are like we saw coming into the harbor of people who live on the islands in the interior of the bay, and then come over to do their errands or what have you here. So it's a little bit more empty in the winter months, but it will fill up as summer comes, and all of these will be, virtually all of them will be full. You can see a lot of space in them now. And again, on the left, we've got some more of those private boats that are for people who live on the islands there in the central part of the bay, kayaks and such. If I could describe the smells to you right now, there's that very much a sea salty smell in the air today. I love the wisps of clouds over. It's something when it's a blue sky, beautiful day here, but it's also, there's something tranquil about when it's just this cloudy, cool, crisp day. There's a number of restaurants here on the dock. We're coming up to the first one now, soon to be open. It's a taco place. There's also a fish and chip place just a little bit further along if you're not into hopping on the Dinghy Dock Ferry and heading over to Protection Island and that particular restaurant. Let's just walk down for a second and take a look at this particular sailboat. I like the wood finish and trim on this one. Sea moose. Oh, Lynn, that's interesting. Well, I'm glad you figured it out. That's good. Such peaceful water, of course, that's the point of the harbor. A safe harbor. Port Theatre across the way. And the edge here of McGregor Park. So we're coming up to the Pioneer Waterfront Plaza in just a moment. That'll be our next stop. And here's that taco place I mentioned. So soon it will be a little spot to grab a little bite. Thanks to those of you who joined me here on my first proper live stream of a tour. Anyway, on YouTube. I've done live streams in the past, but they've been maybe house-based and more traditional home-based live stream. But this is my first one that I'm doing here as a bit of a tour, and I'm glad you're along for the ride. Wonderful. So this whole area here is called the Pioneer Waterfront Plaza. And it's kind of, if you'd have to title it something, it would be called kind of the jewel or the centerpiece of the harbor's of the harbor area. It was completed back in 1993. It provides kind of a focal point for the downtown waterfront area here. Often right in front of us will be buskers here in the summertime months. So if we do this again soon, it will be, we'll make sure we do that. The plaza provides access to the inner harbor, boats in the basin, and visitors who arrive by sea. They can all be found kind of mingling around in this area. Yeah, Rita, I agree. This is that Troller's Fish and Chip place that I mentioned. And it's open throughout the winter time, but only for on certain days. So today being a holiday Monday, it's not open. Ah, Michelle, good to know. Good to know. Well, these are the things we'll find out as time passes.
Right.
You can see the Bastion, which is the famous tower we looked at in our last tour, up there on the in front of us. So we're down below now. I believe, Lynn, it's either the Super Chat feature or the Super Sticker feature, I believe. John, I don't know if you're still on the call, but maybe you can clarify that for us. Yes, Super Sticker. So there you go. So we're just going to pop in here and walk it down onto the actual dock here. So we were at the smaller recreational boats earlier, and the sailboats. We saw the yachts and the tugboats across the way, some of the fishing vessels here. And I like how many of the harbor docks are open here. You can just wander down and look. Often if there's individuals here who own the boats, you can chat with them. They're often very, very chatty people, so that's good. At least, oh, thank you very much. It's good to know. Some of these fishing boats will be, they'll be used for, the fishing boats will be used for different purposes depending on the time of the year and the type of fish. Dan, I didn't hear the last part correctly, but after earlier, oh, it faded. I lost it. Hang on, do I get to see it again? Oh yeah, here it is. Don't repeat now. Hopefully you'll put your Facebook videos on YouTube for me to watch. Came back as not delivered. Hang on. I just want to read, whoops. Hang on, guys. What was that last one? I didn't hear the last part correct after the @ earlier. Don't repeat it now. Hopefully you'll put your Facebook videos on YouTube for me to watch. Okay. My YouTube videos on Facebook might be another way to say it. And I will be doing that. So follow my Facebook group and you'll see that. Thanks, Lynn. I see that super chat. Wonderful. It's great to learn how this all works, you guys. It's new to me. I didn't even realize that Super Chat was a thing that was working right now on my channel, so I'm glad that you guys are able to do that. All right, so again, I love these little bumpers. And of course, these big orange balls will be connected to traps or such that are put down by the fishermen to let them know exactly where they can find their traps when they come back, if they're doing crabbing or looking for other fish or such. I'm not a fisher. Can you tell I'm not a fisherman? Absolutely. So good. I love just the rustic dock kind of wood feel here. And it's all part of the waterfront experience here in Nanaimo. I do want to walk a little bit further down with you, show you some of the stores that are here, show you where the Seaplanes land, and then end up in Muffeo Sutton Park, which is kind of one of the other anchors here on this 4.5 kilometer walkway on the waterfront in Nanaimo as we walk along. The Bastion that we talked about and looked at earlier, for those who weren't with me, was built between 1853 and 1855 and was kind of constructed as a point of protection over this harbor back in the late 1800s. Of course, when the individuals who were living here were concerned about safety and security. That would have been an area that was protected by the Bastion. Walk out our door here, take a right, and continue along our way. It's the last remaining Hudson Bay wooden bastion that is anywhere in North America, actually, which is nice. Now, one of my favorite places here, aside from getting some ice cream, Cynthia, glad you're here, is the whale watching tours. And it's just a little note here that some particular, so you've got T049A2 Jude and T049C Nielsen. Now all the orca whales all have designations on them, and they're all can be known by their fins, the markings on their back and their dorsal fin. And just by seeing their tail, their back, their dorsal fin, they can be identified as specifically which orca whale they are. And so Jude and Nielsen are T, that means transient whales, so they're with pods that aren't residential. They're transient, they go up and down quite a bit further than the residential whales at the, most of which are around Victoria. And so these particular two were seen last on one of their whale watching tours, and it says Nielsen is Jude's uncle, and so very much family, very much family in the very much family in the whales. They are very much a familial group of mammals. I've been out on a few whale watching tours with that particular Vancouver Island whale watching. Great company to connect with if you're ever out in the area here. Unfortunately, I can't take you out there for the lives here because obviously they're out in the middle of the ocean. There's no coverage. Maybe that's not obvious, but it is the fact. I will, one of my Vancouver Island Explored shows, thanks Margaret, one of my Vancouver Island TV shows that are going to be highlighted on this YouTube channel down the road does take you out on a whale watching tour with me, and so we get to see the whales, which is very exciting. That'll be coming up soon. Another reason to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And those are the kind of things that, those kind of adventures are the kind of things that, as you support me through tips, like super chats, super stickers, or if you support me, YouTube takes on tips. I think it's similar, Rosie. I'll have to do my homework on that and check. The other option is to go to buymeacoffee.com/HeyDanKing. They only keep 5%, so I get a much higher percentage from buymeacoffee.com/HeyDanKing. And you can also there at buymeacoffee.com/HeyDanKing, you can also sponsor me monthly through clicking the membership button. They call it membership there. And so it's a way to sponsor me. I can't do membership yet here on YouTube, but when I'm able to, it'll work a similar way. But you are able to support me on membership, and that'll be a monthly amount of $10 Canadian that supports the creative efforts and the touring that I'm able to do here on the channel. So there are none at the moment, but this particular dock that's here is for our seaplanes. And so a lot of the seaplanes will dock here for Harbour Air and one of the other companies, and go between here and Nanaimo and the harbour and over to Vancouver, either to the south terminal at the Vancouver International Airport or the downtown area as well. Haha, at least that's fine. You bet, Margaret, absolutely. This is a little bit of an installation here at the waterfront in front of the apartments here. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's called the White Sails. I've forgotten what it's called. I believe it's called the White Sails. I'm looking for a little bit of a tag around it, but I can't see the emblem that tells us all about them. But I believe it's called the Sails, if I'm not mistaken. And if it isn't, it should be. All right, well, let's continue down towards Muffeo Sutton Park, overlooking the water. In the distance now, we can see the crabbing dock. And the crabbing dock, it's empty at the moment, but often in the morning hours, you'll have individuals come out there and throw out their crab traps. You can buy a license for crabbing for a month, and it allows you to get a certain amount of crab on a given day. Of course, you can only keep the male crabs. If you have a female crab, you have to throw it back. Dungeness crab and red rock crab are the two types of crab that you can find here. Actually, there is a video on my YouTube channel that you're on now, watching this live stream on, where I believe it's, oh, what's it called? If you put something like search my channel for something like crab dock or something like that, we actually put a camera on a crab trap and send it under the water, and you get to watch. It's called Welcome to the Weekend. It's a Welcome to the Weekend series, and you'll be able to go down and actually watch under the water in a crab trap, and see sea lions and seals going by, and other things like this. So it's quite interesting. Would someone post Dan's Buy Me a Coffee link? I wasn't able to find using his name. So if you do find me a coffee, or sorry, buymeacoffee.com/HeyDanKing, one word, HeyDanking. That's what you're gonna be looking for. So yeah, welcome to the weekend, and finding the crabs. Quite an adventure over there. Oh, it didn't come up for you. Oh, Beverly. Well, if you go to my Facebook group, which I hope you're on already, I'll post it on there later today, just for you. After this, I will go and post a link up to it on it, just for you, my friend. It just worked for you. Oh, okay, good. Rosie, maybe you can drop the link in the chat if you want to copy and paste it in for Beverly. So I mentioned to you we have 8 stops on our walk today, and you just did. Oh, thank you, Rosie. I appreciate it. See, I can't see all the chat, so it's a little bit of a challenge to me to see what's going on. But away we go. So I mentioned we had 8 stops on our tour. Stop number 6 was the fishing pier and the crabbing dock that I just talked about. We won't go out there now because there's nobody who's there. So we won't be able to see any crabs. So I don't want to waste our time with that. But stop number 7 here is Muffeo Sutton Park, which we've just walked into now. For the past 65 years, this waterfront area that's now Muffeo Sutton Park, it's really been transformed. Decades ago, it was actually an industrial park. So this whole area here that we're in now was an industrial park, if you can believe it. Devoid of any trees. Now it's got this waterfront walkway, a children's park, the lagoon, everything we see today. It's kind of a hub within the hub city, if you would. We're just coming to look over the lagoon area. This lagoon area was built in the 80s. It's the only man-made tidal lagoon in the world when it was first constructed. So the challenge is, okay, Beverly, I think maybe they meant they posted it over in the Facebook group. I'm not sure. Or it could be that YouTube doesn't allow you to post links, and so it edits them out. That could be as well. So this is the lagoon. And basically what the challenge was in Nanaimo is there was no real swimming area in Nanaimo because of the way the harbor is. There's no real natural swimming place. And so what they did is in the 1980s, they built this area here to create a swimming area. No, it doesn't show, Rosie. So YouTube must edit out any links to keep the spam down. I bet you that's it. I bet you that's it. So that could be. It was built as an area to swim. And basically what there is on the right-hand side, somebody can post it on my Facebook group, that would be helpful. And you can find it there. So over underneath this white bridge that we're looking at now is a series of channels that allow, when the tide is up, the water to flow in here and be captured in here, but not flow out when the tide goes down. And so as a result, the water is kept fresh. doesn't get stagnant, but at the same, and so it can be refreshed each time the high tide comes in, but it still creates a safe place for people to come and swim, enjoy the water. Of course, because it's a little bit more shallow, in the summertime when the sun is really baking down, it warms up quite nice as well, and without getting stagnant and stale. So I like that about this particular lagoon area. Quite an engineering feat that they put together to create this safe swimming place for people. And it's often filled with individuals and families having a great time doing that. So this is Muffeo Sutton Park. It's named after two individuals, Pete Maffeo, popular mayor in the city back in the 60s, and Joe Sutton, who used to be a caretaker in the area, a park caretaker, that is. Got the back side of the big Nanaimo sign. We'll spin around the front of it, take a look at it. It's kind of neat. Again, this was put in probably 2 years ago, just at the top end of the pandemic there. It was created. You've got through the trees, it's hard to see, but the welcome totem that was installed September a year and a half ago. First Nations people of the community carved it, donated it, and gave it to the city. And then you've got the Nanaimo side with the sign with the the O at the end with all the colors. Which gives a nod to the inclusivity of the city. Some kids climbing on it, having fun this morning. The skyline behind. Such a beautiful picture. This is actually in front of us now. This colorful building is actually the bathrooms, and they originally had it painted back almost 15 years ago, and it was only supposed to be painted for a couple of years, and then they were going to change up the paintings and the murals on it. But it ended up sticking and they left it. It was getting graffitied and worn down, so just about a year and a half ago, it was covered up and repainted to give this new mural. Again, nice little pop of color in the midst of this city park here at the waterfront in Nanaimo. We're going to conclude our tour just with a walk down towards the waterfront, and I want to tell you a little bit on our last stop of our tour about the two islands out there in the center of the water. I mentioned the one, Protection Island, we've already talked about with the dinghy dock ferry, and Protection Island was originally named Douglas Island after the governor of the colony of Vancouver Island, the first governor of the colony of Vancouver Island here, and was renamed Protection Island back in 1960. Unlike Newcastle, and we'll talk about Newcastle in a minute, the one to the left of it, which is a provincial park, Protection Island has permanent year-round population. Of course, Newcastle can't have that because it's a provincial park, so it can't have residents. But Protection Island does. And it's about 350 or so people who live in Protection Island. There's no paved roads on the island. Some residents zip around in golf carts. Others have cars, but most just walk. And as I mentioned, locals are frequently transporting their groceries and other things from the community dock through the boats from the harbor here. Oh, good, Beverly. Wonderful. From the harbor here back to the island, and then they use wheelbarrows to move all their stuff back home. It's a nice place to go and visit. Much of a kind of a pirate theme on the island as well, which is kind of fun. Of course, we're coming up on a sculpture of the late mayor of the city, Frank Nye, who was a great pirate himself, depicted in the statue here. I don't know how the light will allow us to collect it, but he's got his winter scarf on right now. And Frank Nye was a big proponent of the bathtub races. Here, let's see if I can get to an angle where the sun is not causing. There we go. There he is. Good old Frank there. overseeing where the bathtub races here in Nanaimo end each summer. And there in front of us then is our final place that we want to focus on, and that's Newcastle Island. Ah, Cheryl, wonderful. Yeah, just, oh, thank you very much. We'll be concluding up in a few minutes, but thanks for hanging out with us. So good. I always mess this up. Sutton Island. Sutton Island is the First Nations pronunciation of the word for Newcastle. Sutton Island. And as I said, it was a provincial park. And Sutton Island means training for running. It refers to special places where the runners of the First Nations, canoe paddlers, warriors, they'd bathe and clean themselves and prepare for races or for battle and such. And in the past, it's been a central of coal mining. There were coal mining all over Newcastle Island, dating back into the mid to late 1800s and then through the early 1900s. Of course, it's traditionally home of the local Coastal Salish people. Those coal mines I mentioned were run by the Hudson Bay Company. And there were actually tunnels that went from Newcastle all the way over to Protection Island, which is kind of a cool thing. There was a very successful resort owned by the CPR Rail that operated between the 30s and the 50s. And now, of course, it is a provincial park. Fun fact, it is the only place in the world you can find albino raccoons, white raccoons. In the summer at low tide, you can walk all the way across the narrow strait between it and its sister island, Protection. So that's our 8th and final stop here on our walkabout around Nanaimo. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed our very first walking tour here on YouTube Live. It's been a joy to be with you. I've learned some things about chat and how it works and such, and I hope you've learned some things about tipping and how it works. And it's just been fun to hang out with you guys. And there will be more to come, but I want to encourage you, if you haven't already, give a thumbs up to this. If you haven't already, give a thumbs up to this, subscribe to the channel, watch a few of the videos. I'll be releasing new stuff on a semi-regular basis, and I'll be letting you know in my Facebook group when the next tours are coming. Thanks for trying it out with me, and I appreciate you guys all. Love you much, and I'm glad you could walk and enjoy Nanaimo with me. We'll talk to you all soon. Have a fantastic, fantastic day. Cheers.